tell us about the book on Islam. Islam in the Last Days. Just explain a little bit about what's in that book.
Oh, this was another example of a book that started off in one direction and ended up going in a totally different direction. It started off because somebody gave me a copy of a book that an ex-terrorist had written. And so I started reading that, and it's like, oh, it just opened my mind to so many things that I'd never heard of.
Yeah.
And so as I started researching, I said, okay, Lord, where do you want this to go? And so where it ended up is it's got a section, yes, on the general history. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. There's tons of books out there that talks about Islam. But I'm trying to get inside the head of a Muslim by interviewing ex-Muslims and, hearing from people who are ex-terrorists that,
Right.
Did all this nasty stuff. And finding out, did a lot of research on this. There's like 40 different sources that I used for this. And finding out, why do they think the way that they do? We've got to get inside their head to be able to figure this out. And then what are we going to do with that? How do we combat the threat, but how do we at the same time witness to Muslims? We are still called to witness
That's
to
true.
them.
They're human
Right,
beings.
exactly.
But the second, the middle part of this was, to me, the most fascinating part, which is why it's called Islam in the Last Days, because a lot of people want to know, what is the role that Islam is going to play?
Yeah.
It used to be 30 years ago, you didn't even think about it because you
No.
just didn't hear about it. It was a non-factor. But then if you look at all the biblical prophecies, especially in Ezekiel, you find that every nation that Christ conquers when he returns is a Muslim nation.
Right.
So it's like something's going to happen here. And with the way Europe is being Islamicized,
Yeah, right.
we have got to take another look at this. So I did a lot of studying, and I came up with 4 different options, which are really basic theories that are out there. I'm not trying to promote any one. I'm just saying there is a
This
group
is what's available.
that believes this. There's a group that believes
this.
this, that the Antichrist is going to be a Muslim. There's a group that believes,
Yeah.
the inner circle view with the Illuminati and all
Yeah.
that. So all I'm asking people to do is to read through that with an open mind and say, the truth is in the Bible. But sometimes it's hard. It's hard to put all the pieces together because we don't have the timing right. We think this is all happening right now, but no, it's actually happening later. This is just a prelude
Yeah.
to that. So I think people will find that it's a fascinating journey out of their preconceived ideas of the role that the church in Islam is going to play. And so it's just, I don't know. When I started, I thought it was this, but then by the time every time I did another chapter, it was like, I think it's this one. And then I do the next chapter. Oh no, I think maybe it's this one.
Yeah, I see what. Yeah.
And so it's like every one of them has things to maybe suggest that there's some truth in it.
I tell you, when I read through that, I get that, and because I like the way you worded it, because you said option 1, the traditional Western view, and I thought, well, and that's true, and this is what we in the West think. America is a great country, and it's the best country in the world, but they have some outdated ideas sometimes about who we are. And
Well, I think most of us, this is all we've ever been taught.
That's right.
And I'm not saying it's
Exactly.
wrong, but I'm saying some
Yeah.
of the players might be different. We think, the beast, it's a revived Roman Empire, and it's, the 10-nation confederacy and this and that. Well, the way Islam is playing out, that may be true, but it may be an Islamic confederation, by the time it comes around, the way that we're going. And so we've got to look at this and say,
the whole thing. And it could always compare it to the Word.
compare it to the Word. That's the guide. You can't
Yeah.
look at it at the world and try to make the Bible conform to that. You got to go by this. And if you got something in your belief, something that just doesn't, mesh with that, then you better scrap that belief.
That's why I always like to call this the manufacturer's handbook.
It is.
You go to it. You don't go to
Yep.
something else.
Yep.
And then the other one you talked about with the Muslim Antichrist view, then the Catholic conspiracy view, then the inner circle view, and that's the Illuminati and all of that. But I could see those And you need to see all of them. And as you read it, I read all of those chapters because I wanted to see what you were getting at. And then go back and look at what the Word says. And you see that none of those views are totally true, but yet, like you say, there's some of them have some points.
Right. So I think it's very possible when it all plays out, it's going to be different than all of them. That we're all wrong.
Yeah.
You know, we got some of it kind of right, but we just missed out on something. The point is to be ready. It's going to happen
right. That's the
when God says
Say
it's
so.
going to happen. And if we don't have our relationship with God on a firm foundation, none of that, you could have everything
Right.
exactly right and have everything figured out, but if you're lost as an Easter egg, it ain't going to help you.
That's exactly right.
That's the whole point.